Jeff in Pennsylvania.
Hey.
Hey, you're talking to Eric and V.
What's up, Eric?
Hey, what's up?
V, how are you?
Doing good. What are you calling about?
You guys know what I'm calling about. My question should be right there in front of you. Not right.
This is a show that people watch, and we want to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm out the format.
That's okay.
I was a little too big in the head. But my question is, you guys talked about confirmation bias, and I've heard that term on your show and other shows. And my question is, how do you determine the difference between confirmation bias and confirmation itself? What is the difference?
That's a good question.
That is. Do you want to go ahead?
You can take this one.
Sure, no problem. So confirmation can happen with or without me, right? I can hand it to you, and you can replicate it and confirm whether or not what I did is true. I can perform an experiment in Texas right here, and then hand the parameters for that experiment to someone at CERN in Europe, and they can replicate it and they can confirm it to be true. Confirmation bias is something that we as humans do in our brains that is really, really rough. And it's something that we recognize we have to watch out for. And that is when we look for things that confirm what we already think to be true. And so we need to be extra careful that we don't do that. An example being, I had an argument with someone who I care about very, very much about homeopathy. And so when I said, hey, you really need to look into this because it has not only been tested and not been confirmed, but there have been very deleterious effects to refusing to take, let's say, cancer treatment and instead going through homeopathy, right? And so what this person did is they used their confirmation bias and only looked for websites that said that it's true. And they sent me all these links. But they had to swim through an ocean of it not being true to find it. And the interesting thing about our brains is they don't remember that. We look for those things, we discard what didn't, fit our narrative, and we hold on to those things
Eric,
that do.
aren't you doing the same thing? Aren't you doing the same thing when you talk about how you're using some other method, right? In other words, you send that same thing that you've confirmed in your mind to be true, right, out somewhere, and someone else also verifies it, right? Mm-hmm. So that whole process is not really outside of the same situation. In other words, when that other person comes back and says, yeah, I found the same exact thing, right? Mm-hmm. And you say to yourself, okay, that's confirmed that it's true because it's verified by someone else, right? To me, I think, huh?
Oh, so that's Hello? Kind of, hey. The difference is one is the act of confirming. The other is the act of looking specifically for something that confirms what you're already going for. I see what you're saying, and there's kind of we have to watch out for that little overlap in the Venn diagram for sure. And that's why I said you need to be extra careful, because if you do something and you see that it confirms your bias, then you need to really keep a sharp eye on that and make sure that you're not falling down that rabbit hole. It's just a way to keep you honest.
Don't you feel? I hear what you're saying. My mind, the mind is a little faster than our lips, but and that's a problem sometimes. But don't you feel a lot of angst when Christians or other people come in and they're convinced of something, right, that you're totally not convinced of, right?
Actually, no. When people call in, well, no, I'll tell you why, Jeff. The purpose of starting this show was to make this an educational resource, to make this something that people can go to and learn from. And I think that...
you know what? I respect that. I love that about this. That's the reason why I even ever tune in, because I respect that, because that's how I've learned things myself.
Awesome. Well,
I rejoice in that. But
see, Jeff, that is so affirming. That feels like a warm hug. I love that. Thank you so much. That's why we
I
do
would
it.
hug you. I would hug you if you let me, but some people would get freaked out by that. Anyway.
Ooh, yeah. For anybody who wants to know, I am a hugger. I will not
That doesn't
inflict.
surprise me.
I will not inflict hugs on people. I always ask you to shake or hug or whatever. But yeah, no, I am a hugger. But that is way off track.
Your personality comes through on that. That doesn't surprise me.
Well, cheers. But
So,
I feel like we've gone far afield. Let's zero back in on the subject. Confirmation and confirmation bias.
I don't know. I think I still hold that with regard to my question, the difference. I'm not sure if you've really delineated, because what I feel like is that although you feel like you've separated the two, I still, and I think you called it some type of overlap in some diagram of some sort. I didn't really catch that, but
It's
to
okay.
me, I feel like it's just like when people say that they're not using faith. You know, I find that to be intellectually dishonest because
on how you
we
define
can't
faith.
escape it. We can't because. Well, the fact is, like Matt always says, Matt Dillahunty from Atheist Experience, there's no pathway to absolute certainty. That's what goes to my other point that I made when I said people are upset when people come into a conversation absolutely certain about whatever this or that is.
Right.
But whenever he says that there's no pathway to absolute certainty, what all he's really doing is establishing the need, absolute need for faith, period. We all walk in it. Scientists, believers, unbelievers, is part of life.
So
that's the lot that we have in life.
Well, depending on how you define faith, I might agree with you.
Well, faith is so easily defined biblically, but people seem to not want to go to that definition. They want to strawman the word and beat up on it incessantly, which really drives me crazy.
Well,
but it's merely...
It depends on how you define faith. I was just handed a free hugs thing that I apparently need to wear now. So, Jeff, right? The people in the back are amazing. Jeff, define faith, please.
Yeah, it's trust. It's confidence that something is true.
Okay. What's the difference between faith and confidence, or faith and trust?
Not really anything. I mean, there's kind of synonyms.
Sure. What if we applied very strict definitions to each so that they were different enough that we can have a nuanced conversation? That's really what we're doing. Is it gonna help? Is it gonna obfuscate, or will it give us better understanding? It would absolutely.
I don't want any part of it.
I absolutely agree. It's to help us have a better understanding. So when we talk about belief, trust, and faith, right, we can use those as synonyms colloquially, but if we want to have a conversation about why we believe things and what process we use to believe those things and what we accept to be true and all of that, it helps to have language for it. And when we give those things more definition, we're able to have that nuanced conversation. It sounds to me like you're using faith in kind of a catch-all way that in some ways I think if we had different language for, we would be able to bring up. And we do have language for that. And so when we agree on that definition, then we can move forward.
Okay.
Yeah. But I hope that helps. And I think there are a couple places where you said, you didn't see the Venn diagram kind of thing. But look back. Watch this conversation. I know that we will as well. And hopefully it will empower you to have more of those nuanced conversations. This was a really good call.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that. I had some other things I would say that, I don't know, maybe it would have been more contentious, but that's not my game.
Well,
I know that.
That's okay. We can disagree on ideas and still respect you as a person, because I don't think you are your ideas, because ideas change.
Yes.
Rock on, man.
Yes.
Thanks
All
for
right,
calling.
peace, you guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
That was a whole lot nicer than I thought it would be.
I know.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised. Also, why?
How did they come up with the free hugs? You know what? I think it's a prop from the Halloween party, because it looks like it's all blood splattery.
I did not see that at the Halloween party at all. I'm
Where did you guys get this? Sorry, our producer just walked by and was just like.